Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Imam Muslim narrates in his Sahih, in his authentic collection of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a hadith from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, in which he says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whoever sees a wrong should change it by force, and if he is unable, then by words, and if he is unable, then within his heart, and that is the least of faith." This very important hadith tells us that the Muslim should be concerned with changing the society for the better, improving the society. We as Muslims cannot live in isolation, simply worshipping our Creator and allowing the society around us to crumble into corruption and disease and indecency. But we should try to be examples of the correct way of life to those people around us, and do our best to change what is wrong in our society as much as it is possible. Because, of course, none of us are commanded by Islam to do anything which is beyond our own individual abilities. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what is good about this community is this desire, which is called Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy al Munkar, which is changing the society by encouraging what is good and removing what is evil. In the 3rd chapter of the Quran, Al Imran, Allah said, Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You are the best community that has been brought forth for the sake of humanity. The Muslim community is not the best because of their race or their lineage, but they are best because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought them forth for the sake of improving humanity, for improving the condition of the people whom they meet in this world. Why? Because they command what is right and they forbid what is wrong. They change the world. So when true Muslims exist in this world, they don't just leave the world as it was when they came in, but they do their best to improve what goes on around them. And so Muslims are always a benefit to any society in which they happen to live. Otherwise, they are not truly practicing the Islamic religion. So Muslims have an interest in what goes on in the community around them. Some people may want to change what goes on about them out of arrogance, or because they think, well, I'm better than those people, or I am, as they may say, have a holier-than-thou attitude, that I think I'm a better person, I'm a more holy or righteous person than those around me. But that is not the true Islamic desire or motivation in Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy al Munkar, or the desire to change and improve society. But my motivation as a true Muslim must be that I love for my brother what I love for myself, as the Prophet ﷺ explained to us. And so I love to live in the type of life that is acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hate that I would fall into sin and to harmful behaviors and practices. And so when I look about me and see my other brothers and sisters lost in sinful behavior or not following the Islamic guidelines, I feel out of compassion for them and love that I want to help them and lead them. And so this shows you that the person who truly has the Islamic motivation of love and compassion for others will take the means which are most likely to be effective in dealing with those people. The person who tells other people what to do out of a bad attitude, thinking he's better, out of an attitude of arrogance, that person is going to be harsh and unjust and cruel in the way that he approaches people. Because very often, such people don't really want to change the society at all. They're not really thinking about the welfare of the society. What they really want to do is simply prove that they are better than the people around them. So, if I find myself in a place where I'm the only one who is making prayers in the mosque, and by my attitude, I drive other people away from the mosque by my bad behavior, then I'm not truly following this hadith at all. But what I'm doing is simply trying to prove that I am the best Muslim in this neighborhood. But if I really would love all of my neighbor Muslim brothers to join me in prayer in the mosque, then I'm going to try my best to have the kind of behavior, the kind of human relations that will attract them. And of course we know that we can attract people through good behavior much better than we can force them to do things in a harsh method. So I feel that I love my community, and I love the members of the community, I love the people around me, and I want to help them as best I can. Also, I have a fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my heart, inshaAllah. And that fear of Allah is that Allah has told us in the Quran that if a community is corrupt and base and disregarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they're going to be punished, the whole community is going to receive the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we were all on a boat, and one person in that boat started damaging the boat, and other people started damaging the boat, and nobody fixed the ship, sooner or later the ship is going to sink. Even if I didn't do anything to damage the boat, but I didn't try to stop those people from doing what they are doing, then I'm going to sink along with them and drown along with them, no matter how good I may be. And that's true of any community. That if I see corruption all around me, evil behavior, indecency in public, in the Muslim countries, or in a Muslim community or neighborhood where people know better, and I say nothing, sooner or later that corruption is going to spread, and it's going to lead, by Allah's laws, by the laws of Allah's creation, leading indecent lives causes harm to spread among everybody. And so disease, crime, depression, mental illness, all kinds of things spread in societies because they have ignored the Islamic criteria for living an Islamic life. So Muslims have a responsibility to assure that their communities follow a minimum level of public decency, which is taught to us by Islam. Now that means that they see publicly behavior being carried out which the people in the neighborhood or in the community know are indecent and immoral and are against Islamic teachings. This does not mean that we are allowed to spy on people, break into people's homes and check on them and see what they're doing in homes, because we're trying to prevent public indecency. And we don't have the right in Islam to spy on people. We don't have a right to enter other people's homes unless there is proof that there is a crime going on in that home, or there is an alarm has been set off that there's a robbery or a murder taking place in a certain place, and the police must, of course, enter immediately to solve that or to prevent a crime from taking place. But as Muslims, we don't have the right to spy on each other, follow each other around, look into each other's homes and see what's going on and try to catch something. Now, if people in the neighborhood know, for example, there's a house of prostitution in a neighborhood, the neighbors know such a thing exists. They see people coming, or perhaps there's a drug dealer in a neighborhood, and people see all hours of day and night people of very bad behavior coming and going from that house, and they see what is going on. The neighbors inform, for example, public officials. Then the public officials have the right, in fact, the duty to investigate this behavior because there's evidence from the public in general. But we're not allowed to follow rumors. Oh, there's a rumor about so-and-so, or I heard about so-and-so, or I'm suspicious of so-and-so, because suspicion is not Islamic evidence, and it's not correct for us to form any type of judgment in our treatment of people based on suspicion or gossip or rumors. Also, it's meaningless to try to enforce Islamic standards on a society that is totally ignorant of Islam. And this is why there cannot be Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi an al-Munkar, enforcing what is right and forbidding what is wrong, when there is no da'wah and when there is no teaching of Islam. The Prophet ﷺ spent many years gradually teaching his companions the Islamic way of life in order to create an ideal Islamic community, and a model community that still exists for us in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that we can admire and we can try to emulate. But he did not come the first day the Quran was revealed and try to enforce Islamic behaviors on the society of the pagans living in Mecca, in Arabia at that time. That would have been meaningless and impossible. First, you have to raise up community standards through da'wah, through teaching, through reminding them with words of the Islamic standards. And after the Muslim community as a whole accepts the standards of behavior that are taught by Islam, then it's possible legally to enforce those standards, because they became the standards that are accepted by everyone in the community, and it's not permitted for one or a few individuals to break those standards. So by this hadith, we have three different levels of enforcement. One is by legal authority, the person who has the right legally to enforce. Not only, for example, in the government, but for example, in the traditional family, the father has the right to enforce correct behavior on his children, on his wife, on the people living in his household, correct Islamic behavior. In traditional communities, the elders of the community are also obeyed, and so he has the right to and duty to command people to do what is right and forbid what is wrong. Otherwise, it is our duty to preach, to teach the public in general, and also when we see individuals, to try to talk to them. But if I want to affect, with my words, affect an individual, then the best way to do that is secretly and private, not to humiliate that person, not to drive that person away, but try to attract him to Islam and to talk to him privately, quietly, and advise him. And lastly, if I'm powerless to change my society, even by preaching, talking, reasoning, at least I have to not be attracted to their lifestyle in my heart. But I must in my heart know what is right and wrong, love what is right, and detest in my heart what is wrong, even if I'm the only person left in the society who is following the Islamic teaching. That the Prophet ﷺ called the least part of Iman. The least part of faith is to love the truth and to hate what is wrong. وَجَزَاكُمْ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا. وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ.